Hello YouTube, today with O.B.STONZ we'll be reviewing the Skilsaw 12-inch 15 amp chop saw dry cut from Amazon.com that I picked up for $420 some odd. At a first peek inside the box, I just want to say to Skilsaw that you guys did a very good job packing this. If you look, everything's custom cut and packaging itself is pretty fancy. I've never seen something come from China this well packaged before. This saw is made in China. I couldn't find any competitive domestically US made saws on the internet. I just want to reaffirm Skilsaw in saying that this bag that the manual is enclosed in is most definitely not a toy. Do not inhale this bag. Try to eat this bag. Do not even let your children look at this bag, because it is a killer. Upon closer inspection of what was actually inside that death trap of a bag, we'll find a nice diagram, followed by a bunch of warnings, followed by parts diagram, setup and operation, all that good stuff. It's actually written in what seems to be very good English, although I haven't even read a single page. It's also got your Spanish and some other language. Most Chinese companies have very bad manuals, but this is a very nice manual. I'm very impressed. I'm going to start by comparing this Skilsaw to other saws in its class and price range. There was another Makita that was its closest competitor when I was comparing them. They both had very similar specs. The Makita just had some older technology and some little things, some little shortcuts they'd taken to just make it a tad bit cheaper. Whereas Skilsaw went the extra mile and added like the little locking mechanism for when you're carrying it. This saw weighs in at about 38 pounds. The Makita was like 4 pounds heavier, but I think this is the best of both worlds, as Skilsaw puts it, where it is both portable and sturdy. It's all cast aluminum. This is plastic, this little guard right there, but it's very nice, like ABS, high quality grade plastic. And then this guard is also very nice. It's aluminum, cast aluminum. It's like 1/8 of an inch thick. The base is extremely sturdy. There's no flex to it. Of course, in this review, I have not used this saw yet, so we'll see how it performs over time, but as of right now, it looks very good. There is a safety switch right here on the D handle. I really like the D handle. The Makita has just a normal handle, like I'll show you on this Harbor Freight over here. It has its own chip tray, its own little stop that comes out, or not a stop, but a rest for your workpiece. The table of this saw is 2 5/8 inches off the ground, so that you can build your own stop. It's a fairly stock size. It would be very nice if they just made it a square 2 or 3 inches. That way you could just get a piece of square tubing and use it as your rest for your work. That would be very handy. I did see that from a Northern Tools chop saw, but they are no longer in production. Chucky 2009 has one of those dry cut saws from them, and they're very nice, or they're comparable to this product. This has a 12-inch blade, I imagine, and a very similar cutting capacity to other 14-inch blades. I think that is just to make the blades a tad bit cheaper and efficient and all that good stuff. I honestly didn't care about the 14 or the 12-inch. I would have went either way. The only defect in the entire saw's fit and finish is a small burr right here, but other than that, everything is immaculate on this saw. There's even a brass bushing in here, I think. Yes, there's a copper or a brass bushing inside of here. It is even every little thing on this saw is just so very immaculate. Like I'm very blown away. Well, of course, this is in comparing it to a Harbor Freight product, but they were all Chinese made, as I stated earlier, but this one shines out just in small features it has. It does have a pretty heavy lead screw right here. This vise, the vise jaw right here, that is very questionable. This is exactly the same as the one on the Harbor Freight. This assembly right here that I have my hand on, that's one thing that they could have done better. They could have made this like a cast piece of aluminum or something like that. And one thing that I did like about, it wasn't a Makita, but there was a product on the lineup that you could buy that had you could buy aftermarket V-jaw chucks, or jaws, to put in here to cut stock on an angle, which just increases blade life. There is no aftermarket V-blocks for Skilsaw, but this is the first model of Skilsaw. There is no other reviews on the internet other than one like setup video on YouTube where I believe it's a sponsored review, which is very cheesy. This is a real review. I bought this saw with my own money. It is very nice. I know some of you will say this isn't fair to compare a $70 very cheap saw to a $420 top of its line saw, but let's just start by saying this saw is at least 2 inches higher than the Harbor Freight saw when fully up and deployed. It is a wider base, as you can see. It has a quick change angle cut, whereas the Harbor Freight you have to get out a wrench. They both have the quick movement vise. Their vices are very similar. This assembly is pretty much the same. The cord on the Skilsaw is a heavier gauge, a nicer rubber, and it's twice as long as the Harbor Freight's. This has a 15 amp. I think it may be a brushless motor. I don't see any brush ports on it, so I don't know. I doubt it is, but it could be brushless. The Harbor Freight, its brushes are burned out. It's actually broken. I would give you a cutting comparison, but it doesn't even work. So on this saw, you see that you just have this handle here, which I don't particularly mind. Like, it's a good system. But this one has the D handle just so it's more, you have more cutting pressure. No, because you don't want to use pressure with this, but it's just a much more stable build. This is a wider saw. It has rubber feet under here. I can feel them underneath the base. The Harbor Freight also has that, but the Harbor Freight is a 3 5/8 inch cutting surface up. In their stowed positions, let's see real quick. The Harbor Freight is actually taller in the stowed position, so the Skilsaw gets smaller, but it is also bigger, so you can put in a bigger piece to be cut. The fit and finish, it's not even fair of me to make the comparison here because this is so superior to the Harbor Freight. I believe the Harbor Freight had a 13 amp motor. There's no comparison here. Let's try a higher Harbor Freight product. So when comparing this Skilsaw to a Harbor Freight bandsaw that came in at about $260 plus a $30 blade, bringing it up to like $390 or something like that. It was a very expensive piece of equipment. It does not cut straight. It won't get close to cutting 90 degrees. I played with it for probably 6 or 7 hours trying to get it to cut straight. It won't. It is actually from factory crooked in this axis, which is very disappointing. The Skilsaw, while I haven't tested it, I'm fairly certain it'll cut perfectly. It cuts probably like 12 times faster than this saw. I'm not even worried about it. This does have a very nice vise setup and a heavy cast iron setup. I think it would be very rigid. I think bandsaws are superior to chop saws in certain applications, in machinist applications where you need lots of precision and the kerf of cut, you want it to be efficient so you're not wasting money on material. There's just many small things that you want to worry about. But on a cheap bandsaw, a chop saw is an expensive, nice chop saw is far superior to any cheap bandsaw. Unless you had like a very large, multi-$1,000 bandsaw, I don't think it can compare to this chop saw. Yeah, that's about it. Let's see it cut. So what we will be cutting today would easily take the bandsaw 50 to seconds to a minute and 20 seconds to complete cutting. It's 1/8 inch wall, 2-inch tubing. You can see that's the best cut I could ever get with the bandsaw after hours of tinkering. If you can see, this side is fairly close to square. This side is not square at all. It's off by several degrees. Alright, let's cut. So it's really as simple as plugging it in, putting on your hearing protection, eye protection, and tightening up the jaw. We're going to square up this piece of tubing that the bandsaw so terribly cut. If you take a look, this has a full metal blade guard. The guard extends across the entire blade. There is no other chop saw where it is this solid. I've seen ones where it's 2 little pieces that come and slide like that. I really don't know. I haven't used them, so I can't say that this is superior to them, but I know aesthetically it's very pleasing. Let's cut. Like a warm knife through butter. This is I believe a 62 tooth blade or something like that. The cut is cool to the touch. I can already grab this. See how clean that is? There's hardly a burr on it. That is amazing. Alright, let's hurry and see how square it is. You can see perfectly square, and that's off by the smallest degree, but that's in the adjustment of the vise. I'm very happy with this saw. It is a very nice piece of equipment. If you're wondering what all the knickknacks do, because I was wondering what all the knobs do and such, this one just brings out this. This is actually a hex wrench. I thought it was a lever of some kind. No, they include a hex wrench to change. I don't even know what this goes to, but there's a screwdriver that'll undo pretty much this whole machine right here for like on-the-job repairs or something like that, or maybe changing out the brushes. It's covered in warning stickers everywhere, like everything is required to be, but they're very nice warning stickers. Yeah. Comment, subscribe, whatever you really want to do. O.B.STONZ out.